Hey besties, welcome to episode 3 of Besties We're Not From Here. I have decided, in trying to figure out what I wanted the third episode to really be about, I've sort of decided to touch upon what's been happening with my week as I come to a greater understanding and understanding of just everything that's been happening for the most part. Because I had some fabulous insights this week and I really wanted to share those and touch into them a little bit with y'all. I came to the understanding this week that life is essentially a choose your own fantasy adventure novel. And it's sort of messing with my head. You can, whatever you want your existence to be, you get. And I think a lot of people are going to be upset hearing that, but whatever you want out of life, you will get. I have been to the Floaty Place, and it's just what I call a greater connection to source. I call it Floaty Place because there's nothing really there. Space is there. There's a whole bunch of energy there, but there's not really like anything around. And you float. That's all it feels like. You exist. And I was having a conversation with someone and they were asking me if I wanted to pull cards to have a deeper understanding about something while I was in the Floaty Place. And I told them, look, I don't know how to say this without coming and seeming very harsh, but the cards don't matter. The question doesn't matter. My understanding of the question doesn't matter because none of this here matters. And it's not in a way where I was trying to discredit anybody. It wasn't a way where I was saying, existence doesn't matter. I was just on such a different frequency at the time that the things below me didn't matter. Because once when you got to where I was, they ceased to exist. So all the problems that I was facing on this plane, once when you got up there, didn't matter anymore. So realizing that the Floaty Place essentially didn't care about this plane, and realizing that I knew that we were having an experience that I wanted to have. So I wasn't too hung up in the logistics of it because I knew it was energies going through the motions and having the experiences that they wanted. And when they were done, they would come find me, or they wouldn't. They would do whatever they want. They were living their life, and it didn't concern me because I wasn't living the life that they were. So in understanding that, I sort of sat back with spirit and I was like, I'm struggling with spirituality a little bit because I feel like I've made it my whole personality. But in going to the Floaty Place, I finally understood that my existence didn't matter. There wasn't a right or wrong way for me to do something because it didn't matter once when I got to where I'd be going. So I sat back. I was like, okay, well, it really would be a pick your own fantasy adventure. Because I decided that I wanted to do the spiritual journey. So the universe, in my understanding, gave me exactly what I wanted. They gave me a spiritual journey. This also ties in with my manifestations. I might have mentioned it before. I'm not entirely sure, but I have been waiting 3 years for my manifestations. Some longer than others, like we're just going to say 3 years, okay? I was wondering why they weren't coming in. So I kept asking questions, and Spirit kept giving me answers that coincided with what I believed. So what did I believe? I believed that I was built different. I believed that I was powerful. I believed that at one point, again, I know I mentioned I was the second coming. I believed a lot of things. I mean, granted, they aren't really false, but I believed a lot of things that weren't in alignment with me. But Spirit understood that that is what I wanted to go for. That was where I was putting my attention. So the universe gave me more things to back those things up, because that was the experience I wanted to have. And because I realized at the time that I was built different, I thought that normal manifestations didn't work for me, that I had to find something new, that I needed to do something to bring in my manifestations, because the normal ways weren't working for me because I was so powerful. So I said consciously, I want my manifestations. Subconsciously, I was running the script of I'm too powerful for these things to come forward. I was also running the script of, one, my manifestations weren't safe to land, so I didn't want them to physically be here because I wasn't safe within myself either, or my surroundings. And two, that I had to prove myself. I had to have receipts in order to come up and then get my manifestations. So if anyone ever came by, I'd be like, no, I waited 3 years for these. Like, I worked my butt off. Because we all know that person that just manifests effortlessly because they believe they can have whatever they want. They found a way that works for them. They believed it with their whole heart, and now that way works for them. Me, I believed manifestations didn't work because I thought that I had to suffer for my abundance. I thought that the more work I put in, the easier it would be when they got here for me to feel like I had earned it, and for others to feel like I had earned it, and I wasn't some person who was just like, oh yeah, I manifested, just, you know, in the background. And I had to realize, just because I earned it doesn't make me better than anyone else. No one is checking your receipts to make sure that you've put in the work. People aren't asking me to sacrifice myself, to work harder than them before I get what I want. Plain and simple. But again, going back to your reality, that was what I truly believed. So Spirit didn't give me manifestations. Yes, I was saying something different, but it runs off of your subconscious. And if you haven't done your work to figure out what those subconscious beliefs are, you don't know what you're actually calling it. And it's frustrating as hell. I hate it so much. I understand it though, but I get it. Dr. Joe Dispenza is someone who I always recommend for a lot of people. He uses a lot of words that, I'm gonna be honest, English has never been my forte. I don't exactly enjoy the English language because I read frequencies and English doesn't tap into those frequencies. So yeah, he's explained a lot of this for me to where I have a deeper understanding with things. And it's again, it's your subconscious that's running the script. And whatever life you think you deserve, you will get. Even now with me, with my thoughts of this is a create your own fantasy adventure earth. I wanted to say school. I don't really feel like it's a school. It feels more like a vacation, a weird vacation, but a vacation. That's still an idea. That's still my own belief. It's still my own thoughts tying into what I've said. So it might not be yours. It might not even be someone else's. But some people are going to go, oh my gosh, you're right, because that's exactly what I did. And again, you don't have to pick up everyone's beliefs as your own. You don't have to hear every piece of information and say, oh my gosh, I have to take this in. This is right. If it's not yours, it's not yours. And I do this thing, and I know a lot of people do, where you kind of have conversations aloud with people, but like in your head, and they don't exist, but you're talking it out with them. I found that this usually lets me work through things with my nervous system. So I try not to stay in this frequency, but I do go back in there sometimes. And I knew how mad people would get if I said that you choose the reality that you live. Because truthfully, me going back to who I was before I started my healing journey, I would have told you there's no way that I wanted this at all. Like, why would I want to be miserable? But you have to remember, it's not the conscious thoughts, it's your subconscious that's controlling the program. And subconsciously, I felt like these romantic relationships were the only ones that I could bring in, because I was stuck on people's potential, and I really wanted a project, a fixer-upper, if you will. I wanted to fall in love with potential, not with people's actions and who they were showing me they were. I wanted to save somebody, and I kept pulling in people who needed saving. The problem with that being, you can't heal people who don't want to be healed. You also can't hold up a mirror to people and tell them that they're the problem. A lot of people find that offensive. It's the truth. The trauma was not your fault. Healing it is your responsibility. Does that suck? Yeah, it does suck. But you can either suffer in silence, or you can get better and start moving forward, you know? So that sort of just led me down this whole rabbit hole of, what do I actually want then? Like, even the spiritual path didn't really feel like it mattered. I would love to play around and learn some magic. Because, like, if you're telling me that this is a fantasy, like, build your own fantasy room, like, I'm gonna learn magic. Let's do it. Whatever. Like, but why wouldn't I want a life of comfort and ease then? So now it's about poking the old subconscious and just going, hey, you ready? No? Okay, why not? What other beliefs do we still have that are limiting us? And then it's repeating over and over to myself, hey, you're allowed to have ease. You're allowed to have comfort. You're allowed to be safe. Even before trying to record this episode today, my throat started going crazy. You probably saw the beginning of this. I had to sit and take a little time out and just talk to myself and say, hey, it's okay to have an opinion. As in the past, we're not going to be persecuted for having a voice. I'm safe in this moment. I'm allowed to speak. I'm allowed to have my voice heard. And it's sadly repetition, which kind of sucks, but, you know, I'll figure a way around it. But I want to have the home that I feel so completely safe and that I never even want to leave. I want the ease to only work if I want to, or if I have to. I want to have the love that I've only read about in books with a person who feels like home, but also essentially just lights my whole being up from the inside, you know? And all of that, I don't want to say it takes time, but you have to get through and out of your own way. You have to finally understand that the only person that is keeping you from true happiness is yourself. And that's a hard thing to actually internalize or even say out loud. Because I can tell you with certainty on this spiritual journey, every single time I have found a roadblock, I have been the one that has been in my own way. It's me, 100% of the time. Always. And that sucks because you think yourself, especially, you would want the best for you, right? But the programming is ridiculous. So it's just one of those things. What kind of life do you want? Do you want one of comfort and ease? Cool, call it in. Do you want one where you want to be on a battlefield, just like hanging out, having fun, chilling? Like, go create that one. Do you want one where you're a champion of justice? Like, go ahead and have that one. You literally can choose whatever experience you want, because we are source, creation, whatever, experiencing itself. That's it. There are so many players because we wanted to create a realistic world where we could have whatever kind of experience we wanted. One of the hardest frequencies to get rid of here is the fear and the control, because they break us up into so many different categories that it's hard to remember that we are all one. We are all united. And it starts the moment we're born. They assign you a gender, male or female. That's your first division. Your second division, got a mom and a dad, don't you? How many of you were told it's family? You do anything for your family. But then people outside of you, they aren't family. Why would you? You have to, family, 110% family. It's another way to divide you. Grade levels, all a way to divide. Cliques, friend groups, all a way to divide. Neighborhoods, all a way to divide. Anything that erects a barrier between you and another person is just simply a way for them to maintain the fear and the control. Because the more you're afraid, the less you will create. And whatever you create is, it's up to you. But they're going to put their foot in. They're gonna fight you a little on it. And I just want that. I wanted to call it stupid, but it's not stupid. I just want the life that I've only ever dreamed of. I want peace and joy. I want safety. And those things have been really hard to come by in my life. Those things haven't been the easiest things to obtain, but it's because I didn't feel safe in myself. Until I put roots down within myself, I never could have dreamed of being in this moment. Finally saying that I'm ready for peace and safety and security. And it's so hard not to try to control that narrative. To pick up my tarot deck and ask, where is it? To get a reading for somebody and again, ask, where is it? To start checking in with spirit. Well, why isn't it here? Why isn't it coming? Trusting outside of you is one of the hardest things you can do. Because at least for me, I was always taught that I was the only person who had my back. And because that was my belief, again, my subconscious, that's what it thought. You notice a pattern outside of you, and then your mind looks up things to back up that pattern. So if I think that I'm the only one that has me, that I'm the only one that has my back, I'm going to start looking for ways outside of me that are solidifying that belief until I'm so firm in it that I've created it now. It's a loop. And you can always get out of the loop. You just have to consciously choose to get out of the loop. But that's a lot of work. And many don't want to do the work. Many just want the fun, the gifts. What about the gifts? So y'all, thank you so much for being here for another fun-filled episode, and we will see you next week for Besties. We're not from here.